This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. Welcome to Come for Tea. I love San Francisco, and I thought it would be fun to design a tea that celebrates all the wonderful foods that this city has to offer. So in this episode of Come for Tea, I'm going to be sharing some of the savory recipes that I came up with that would go with our San Francisco tea. Fisherman's Wharf is a wonderful part of San Francisco, and so I thought I'd put together a mini frittata made with sun-dried tomatoes and crab. Now to get started, we're going to get a mini muffin pan, and I'm going to spray each one of the little wells with some non-stick spray. And then I'm going to chop up some sun-dried tomatoes, and I'm going to chop up about a third of a cup of these tomatoes and just put them into a medium-sized bowl. And then I'm going to get a can of artichoke hearts, and they come kind of quartered, and that's a little bit big for a mini frittata, so I want to go ahead and chop those up just a little bit more. And then once I get them chopped up, I'll add that to the sun-dried tomatoes in the bowl. In this frittata, I like to add some fontina cheese, which is a really nice kind of semi-soft cheese, and it comes with this red wax on it. You peel that off, and then I'm going to grate about a cup of fontina cheese, and I'm going to add that into the bowl with the artichokes and the sun-dried tomatoes. Now for a little fresh herb, I'm going to get some basil leaves, and I'm going to kind of put them together in almost a little roll. We want to pull them off the stem first, kind of line them up, and just give them a little twist, and then we're going to take a knife and almost kind of julienne them. And I want about 2 tablespoons of fresh basil, and I'll put that into the bowl as well. Next comes the crab meat. Now this is a fresh crab that I got at the store. It's a lump meat crab. And so I'm just going to take about 6 to 8 ounces of crab meat and kind of break it up a little bit and add that into the bowl. Now for the egg part of this dish. I'm going to crack 3 eggs and put each one separately into the bowl. That way, just in case you get a bit of shell, you don't want that mixed up with all those wonderful ingredients. And then I'm going to use some whole milk, and I'm going to use about a half a cup of whole milk and add that. And then I'm going to add a couple of drops of a hot sauce and a little salt and a little fresh ground pepper. And now I'm going to take my wooden spoon. I'm just going to kind of mix all of that together, breaking up the egg, mixing the cheese in, just get everything all kind of mixed together. Now it's time to put things into the little muffin wells, and I'm going to take 2 tablespoons and I'm going to work together, and I'm going to use one of them to get a spoonful of the frittata mixture, and then I'm going to use the second spoon to kind of scrape it out of the spoon. Now this frittata doesn't have a lot of egg, but just enough to keep it together. And once you get a tray full, we'll pop them into a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, and they'll get all brown and puffy. Now, once you get them out of the oven, you're going to want to use a little spatula or offset knife like this, kind of run it around the side and just pull them right out and set them on a plate to cool. These don't have to be served hot. They can be served at room temperature as well. Well, San Francisco is known for its wonderful sourdough bread, and just about anywhere you can find somebody that's making these great sourdough pizza breads, and so I thought that would be a nice savory on our tea tray. Now, if you can, try to find a real sourdough bread from San Francisco. This one is Colombo. It could be Boudin. If you can't find it, just any kind of sourdough bread would be fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this loaf. I'm only going to use half of it, cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut it in half down the middle to make it not quite as thick. Now, be careful when you're doing this. You don't want to cut yourself, just the bread. Now take some kind of marinara or pizza sauce that you like and just spread some spoonfuls of that on top of each of the pieces of sourdough bread. Then I'm going to use some shredded mozzarella cheese, and I'm going to top that on top of each piece of the French bread as well. Next, I'm going to take some finely ground oregano. I'm just going to do a little dusting on top of that mozzarella cheese, and then I'm going to grab just a little Parmesan cheese. This happens to be a shaved Parmesan cheese. It could be grated. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on top as well. Now these are going to go into the oven about 350 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes, and they'll come out looking like this. The cheese will be nice and melted. It'll be a little brown, not too crispy though. And then I want to go ahead and I want to cut them using one of my large knives into these fingers like this. It makes it much easier to eat when you're having tea. So these are the two savories that I'm serving in this tea. And in our next episode, I've created some delicious sweets that I want to share with you that are going to go great with this San Francisco tea. For more information on this episode, go to our website and visit the Come For Tea show notes. Also, if you have any questions or ideas, send us an email. Thanks for watching. It's time for tea. Want to see what's going on behind the scenes at Harwood Podcast Network? Maybe you want to know what's going on with your favorite shows. You can follow us by going to twitter.com/Harwood Podcast. We have daily entries, photos, all kinds of behind the scenes info. We'll see you on Twitter.